need the Legion of Doom back.
You know, the sound is off, so it might yeah, it's off, so. Did you want me to put it on? Want to ring? Yeah, you'll pick it up. Yeah.
We want to see him on the camera, on the video Zoom. Put him on the Zoom on the wall. It's 2024.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world and for those who have passed away in our community, especially Officer John Bunce and Reverend William Byron. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. King? Mr. Schuster?
Present.
Dr. Rothchild? Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Mr. Smurl?
Here. Dispense with the reading of the minutes, please. I'm sorry. Attorney Gilbride, will you bring the public up to date on the agenda item for 5E, I believe it is?
Yes, Mr. President, at the request of the administration, item 5E that appears on our agenda has been removed as it is no longer necessary for consideration by the council.
Thank you.
Third order, 3A, Single Tax Office City Funds Distributed Comparison Report for the year-to-date April 1st, 2024, and year-to-year comparison report for the year 2023 to April 1st, 2024. 3B, correspondence received from City Business Administration on April 4th, 2024, regarding updated payroll preparation tax collections as of April 2nd, 2024.
Are there any comments on any of the third order items? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
I have a couple. So I also would like to offer my prayers and condolences to Officer John Bunce and his family, who passed away last Wednesday. He was a member of the Scranton Police Department for 27 years before retiring in 1989. He was a chaplain at the German Lodge No. 2 Fraternal Order of Police for 47 years and a former member of the Police Honor Guard. He was chaplain and secretary for the Lackawanna County Retired Police Officers Association for over 21 years in the greater Scranton area. Also, he was in the Chick Feldman Hall of Fame in 1994, and in 2000 he was also inducted into the Pennsylvania Sports Hall of Fame. God bless him and his family. Also, Wednesday, April 17th and 18th, over at the Victor Alfieri in Westside, they're going to have their spring spaghetti dinner, take out or eat in. This is at the main entrance of the Victor Alfieri Society on Main Avenue. It's from 4 p.m., takeout starts only, and then 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. you can eat in or take out. $12 for adults and $5 for children. And our friends, the Friends of the Poor of Scranton, they need our help or your help. Friends, we're in need of volunteers at the Jackson Terrace Pantry from 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m., Mondays through Fridays. We are experiencing our greatest staffing need on Mondays and Fridays. If you're interested in volunteering, please fill out our volunteer application at their website. It's Friends of the Poor, Scranton.com. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. McAndrew. Nothing? I have a few. Saturday, April 20th, we're doing an Earth Day cleanup at NAACP Park. Starting at 9 a.m., we are going to meet at the community building. And the South Scranton Resident Neighborhood Association is meeting April 17th at 6:30 at 509 Cedar Avenue. And the last thing is council meeting scheduled for April 23rd, which is the primary election day. We are going to reschedule it to the 24th, the Wednesday after, at the normal time, 6:30. Thank you.
Fourth order, citizen participation.
Joan Hodowanis.
Joan Hodowanis, Scranton. Another reminder, Library Express, which was in the marketplace at Steamtown, will close on Sunday, April 21st. That's their last day when they're open to the public. And everything in the store is 50% off. The union contracts, once again, firefighters, their arbitration award decision was made on April 4th of last year. That's 371 days ago. And the police on July 28th, 256 days ago. And I don't see any contracts on the city's website. I have mailed in a right-to-know request to see the contracts. And I hope they don't come back with no such documents exist. I saw in reading the backup that firefighters and police comprised 62% of all city employees. So, you know, to me, it's a big difference. You know, the major part of the budget happens to be wages, salaries, and benefits. We should have access to those union contracts. It's not enough to say, read the arbitration decision. I want to see a contract. I don't know how you can have a personnel manual which has several chapters which say, for union employees, refer to your union contract when there's no union contract. But that's just me. Tom Coyne did a great job last week talking about the number of department heads we've had in this revolving door that's called City Hall. I'm trying to make sure I know who's on first for the right-to-know office. It used to be somebody named Gracie Frankie earlier this year, and then I think it was somebody named Kelsey, and I think currently it's somebody named Morgan Fetzak. Is that the name of the current right-to-know officer?
I believe Morgan, yes, is doing them.
Okay. I'm hoping that 348-4118 is the correct phone number, because I would send things in electronically, never hear anything back at all. So I've mailed it in. If I don't hear a response, I'm going to remail it, certified mail, return receipt, request it. Maybe I'll send it to the mayor, see if she'll sign for it. Can't get into the building if nobody answers the phone. Did you see the article that the Times put out about the tax burden in Lackawanna County? 40 municipalities. Scranton is number 2 out of 40 for the total tax burden. But oh my God, we're 40 out of 40 for median earnings for workers. What's wrong with that picture? And the walkability study that we had the presentation at Lackawanna College last Thursday, I was very disappointed in the mayor and the presenters and their failure to answer a direct and important question. How does someone visually impaired know how and when to cross the street if there are four-way stop signs? A lot of dancing around, a lot of outrageous replies like it's better to be hit by a car going 25 miles an hour than one going 45 miles an hour. But here's a question for you. Who's responsible for the Public Safety Committee? You are. You know those buttons you push when you're walking downtown to get a, walk, don't walk reply? You know the vast majority of them haven't been working for years. Why doesn't anybody fix them? You're not going to move to, stop signs overnight. They ought to be fixed, and shame on the administration for ignoring them. But I guess, if you're just a pedestrian, you don't count.
I'll bring it up in fifth for you.
And this 5E that you're pulling, I read the backup. It looks like Mr. Zakharoff has been an employee for several months. Why are they asking for a residency waiver at this point? Is he going to be terminated if he's not moved in within 6 months, and are you going to push the issue? Thank you.
Joan, Attorney Gilbride, will you say it again? I don't believe Joan heard for that.
5E has been removed from the
I
agenda.
know it's been removed, but the backup indicates that the individual has been working for some time. Let me quote. This man, quote, has excelled in his position and added a great deal of organization, data analysis, and management skill to the department. That tells me that he's a city employee already. What are you going to do about it?
Thank you. Lee Morgan? Really? Please, try to keep order. Lee Morgan?
Good evening, Council. Lee Morgan. I just thought I'd bring the residents up to date because I have the city and federal court over ECT for the council and the mayor. And I haven't received a hearing date yet, but I'm still working on that. And I want people to understand that the city receives $1.6 million from the cable company, and to stifle free speech on the public access channel is just beyond my belief. And when we look at our government, we have to ask ourselves, because they know that they're not representing us, and to constantly go back and talk about being legislators and legislating laws in the city that hurt the residents and the taxpayers is really mind-boggling. Now, I have a hearing coming up with District Justice Farrell soon. I've been trying to get information from the law department without any success, but it's not a major thing because I'm going to do a series of subpoenas, probably about 15 of them, and have the hearing recorded by a court reporter. But I think the residents of the city have to do a much better job of electing public officials, because when you elect a council that has the right to do investigations and they don't do it, and you allow local government to hurt the residents of the city and experience a population decline of the type that Scranton suffered over decades, and keep electing people to council seats and to mayor that have all these great plans as they spread grant money and borrowed money around and deny residents even their earnings with the 2.4% wage tax. And when you ask yourself, why would a mayor and a council bring illegal people into the city and fund them at the detriment of the residents, even though the President of the United States is breaking the law because it's his #1 job to secure the border, and he hasn't done it. And we have Americans being murdered, raped, all across our country, robbed. I mean, recently we had some ladies come from Greenridge. They were concerned about theft in their neighborhood and not feeling safe. But then we find out that in the Abingtons and the local area, there were Venezuelans that were breaking into properties and stealing stuff, or from South America, we might as well say, because it's really widespread. They're looting the country, and then they're selling stuff, and then they're sending the money back to South America. This is what our president's done to the people in our country. So when we talk about the homeless or the vets that aren't being served, they're channeling all that money to the illegals. And even our own city government is doing that. And it's really troubling when you look at just the scope of the incompetence of our city government. It's like I said to you, Mr. Smurl, with all due respect to you, I think you took the water slide down so you could be appointed as a councilman. And just because you won an election, winning an election to be a councilman in this city, look what it's done for us. Nothing. We were in distress 30 years and couldn't climb out, and now I think we have got the county going that way. But yet and still, the county spent $700,000 for a bookmobile. Don't make any sense. And then claim they're $19 million short. And when you look at the project in front of this building, we could have bought the Store and Pfister building for $1.6 million. It was the courthouse annex. We could have did some great things for the city. But, you know, we keep wasting grant money and shoving it in places. And it's just detrimental to the residents. And then we have a council that enacts laws and strips residents of their constitutional rights under law. And then we force the citizens like myself to go to federal court. And now we have the law department trying to hide from me. And I just find it to be so, you know, when the government uses its own assets to attack its citizens, and I'm saying to the city, come meet me in a courtroom and let's see what happens. But quit hiding and quit misusing your power. And this council empowers them. You're a detriment to the residents of this city.
Les Spindler?
Good evening, Council. Les Spindler, city resident, homeowner. 3 weeks ago, I came here talking about garbage when you get off the McDade Expressway near Redner's from a former homeless camp, and it's still not picked up 3 weeks later. As I stated last week, if Tom Preambo was still DPW director, that would have been done the next day. Because as I said last week, he watched these meetings and he took care of stuff right away. I guess just nobody cares what our city looks like anymore, because it looks like a garbage dump off the side of the road, a little before Redner's, and nothing's being done. Next thing, spoke about this last week also, what Pennsylvania American Water did to Roaring Brook and the Lackawanna River. There was the article in the paper, Sunday's paper. It says, mishap at dam badly impacts stream. Microinvertebrates mostly wiped out in some spots. New deposits of sandy silt range from shin to 3.5 feet deep in some spots, the study said. Nothing can live in that stream anymore, or the Lackawanna River. Something should be done with Pennsylvania American Water. It says they're working it out with DEP to try and fix the problem. They should be made to come in and clean out Roaring Brook and the Lackawanna River. And I said last week, the city should sue them for what they did to our environment here. Next thing. As Joan said, I was at that meeting also last Thursday at Lackawanna College about the walkability study and connectivity. And she mentioned about a question about how could the vision impaired people cross the street when there's stop signs. Well, I'm the one that asked that question 3 separate times. Mr. Smurl was there, Mr. King were there. And as she said, they danced around so much, they danced around my questions, they would have got all 10s from the judges on Dancing with the All-Stars. The one time I asked, how could they cross the street? Nothing, there's no noise or anything telling them. The one gentleman said, well, the cars will stop and let them go. I said, that still doesn't give them, I said, how does that let them cross the street? They don't know the cars are stopping to let them cross the street. And that's the answers I was getting last week. Another one said, well, how do they cross other streets? I said, other streets aren't downtown Scranton. So when was this study done? On a Sunday morning when everybody's sleeping or in church? There's nobody downtown? They want to put stop signs on the corner of Washington and Linden, one of the busiest corners in the city. And as I said, Mr. Smurl and Mr. King were there last week. I think all you council people should have been there to hear what a farce this was. They couldn't answer any questions, and it's going to come before you. The mayor said this has to be voted down. It's totally unsafe for the citizens, especially the elder people in this city. And after I was done speaking, former city engineer and 50-year city engineer with 50 years experience, John Poaches, spoke. And he said, traffic lights should never be replaced with stop signs. And that's his opinion with 50 years experience, more than the experience of those jokers that did the study. So when this comes before council, you have to turn it down. That there's no way people are going to be safe in this city crossing the street. Like I said, they couldn't answer my question. I asked it 3 separate times. They could not tell me how it's going to be safe for visually impaired people to cross the street at stop signs. They don't hear any noise. So I don't know when, I guess there's going to be another meeting also. So I hope you people attend so you hear how ridiculous this is. That's all I have tonight. Thank you for your time.
Ron Elman?
Hello, Council. You'd think after my disastrous lost code enforcement minute, I'd want some better time, but I'm still mad at them, and I'm still mad at the people up there giving Basiliga hero status. This isn't a matter of right and wrong or what's legal and what's not. It's his opposition to the code enforcement, which I don't like, as you know. They are still an arm of this city, and he's trying to dictate his terms to them, which is dictating them to us. That's shameful. This man is far from your hero status that everybody gave him last week. It wasn't very long ago, he was crying and pleading poverty so he'd get a gigantic tax deduction. I guess it was 2 years ago. Then a couple of weeks ago, he brags all his apartments are full. It's just, what have you done for me lately with him in this city? Well, we need some tax money, not tax parasites like this place is full of. Developers have to exist. They must exist on grants, loan forgiveness, tax abatements, and all this falls on the taxpayers to make it up. And I've asked you before, you people in this whole administration just haven't done one thing about the phony nonprofits. Look at all that land up there sitting in front of Geisingers. All the millions of dollars that are gone forever. Just like Lackawanna College down here. Building sat for 3 years and then we put a roof on them. They didn't pay taxes. All these parasites are just, they're just with approval of the city. And in relation to this marquee that I was going to get to last week, I've never seen it. I don't go downtown any more than I have to. But to me, downtown is bright lights and street noise and all the things like you see. I don't know how many of y'all ever been to New York City like I have. I've probably 24 times over the years. I just love to be there with all that noise. And if someone can't cope with it, let them move. It's nice to see a full house out here, isn't it? Yeah. And one thing, every so often I run into this lady at Garrity's, and last week she lives off of Main in the 1200 block. She asked if that Epic that used to be the glass company on the 1200 block, if they would put up a fence because it looks so bad. And she evidently lives behind there somewhere. She told me, but I don't know the streets. But it is an eyesore, and I guess she doesn't get anywhere with the zoning board. She told me she's phoned people and they didn't do nothing. I got through it today. It was all right, wasn't it?
Very good.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Jennifer Reed?
Hello, my name is Jennifer Reed. I'm a citizen of Scranton, a taxpayer, and a concerned person living in this community. Here I stand, another week has passed, and I am still disappointed in our city. Here are some quotes and promises made to the people of our community. January 7th, 2020, the following lines were spoken. 1, to bring back certainty to Scranton. 2, we are going to get to do this together. And 3, we cannot afford to be divided. Do you know who spoke those words by any chance?
Do not.
That was the mayor. Here's another one. They were losing hope and they needed people to believe in and that they can trust. Any idea for that one?
Nope.
Dr. Rothchild.
Mr., if you outburst again, I'm going to have you removed. You cannot be interrupting the speakers. It's their time, not your
Can we
time.
pause my time?
Not your time.
Are you kidding me?
Go ahead.
Okay. Scranton's motto, embracing our people, our traditions, and our future. To embrace means to accept and support. Tradition is a long-established custom. Future is a period of time still to come. And if you put it all together, to accept and support the long-established custom for a period of time still to come. It seems like the custom of this city is to reject, neglect, and push out certain members of our community, namely the homeless. When I asked last week how many people were or have been homeless, not one of you had raised your hand. But many of us on this side of the room did. So I will ask again. How many people in this room, if you could stand up, are homeless
Ma'am.
or have
ma'am,
been?
You have to address council, please, not the audience.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So the people that are standing up are the ones that have been homeless or are currently homeless. Now, if they are not homeless, they can sit down, or if they don't want to be homeless, they can sit down. So all of the people that sat down decided that they did not want to be homeless, but at this point, they really don't have much of a choice. You are disconnected from the people that you served. And I said previously, many of those without homes are taxpayers with jobs. Where's the help that they need? Can you tell me how many people are homeless right now in this city? Any idea?
I cannot.
Okay, so as of 2018, there was 159, but I'm sure that number has only gone up since then. How many shelters are there for the homeless people in the city? Night shelters, not day shelters.
Well, it depends on what you consider nice shelters.
Shelters where people can sleep at night, single individual people, not mother and children. There's one, only one, with 6 beds for women and 20 beds for men. Do you know that there's only one other shelter if the weather is freezing? That's it. For the most part, people rely on small groups together, in tents or whatever they have, to keep themselves safe. They get their resources together and they try to work together to survive the best they can. Most people do not want to see them, but they also refuse to find resources or a solution to house them. My daughter was here with me last week and she held up a sign, and I'm not sure if anybody remembers what it said, but for those who weren't here or didn't see it, Lackawanna County, the county that we are currently living in, has 126 homeless children in Scranton, 16 homeless children in Old Forge, 25 homeless children in Mid-Valley, and 14 homeless in Riverside. And this is according to the PA Department of Education. And I'm sure that those numbers are most likely under-recorded. So I ask, what is your plan going forward to make a change? How is the city plan to open more shelters, or do they? There's more homeless people on the street and obviously not enough shelters. With that many people that are homeless and 26 beds, the math doesn't add up. And how is the city going to assist me and other members of the community to do the jobs and take care of the people who we are taking care of that the city should be? This isn't our job. We're doing this because we care about these people, and obviously more than the city does, because we're doing the best we can to make sure that they can survive. There's people in cities that freeze to death because they have no choice. I don't think anybody would even blink an eye, bat an eye, if somebody froze to death in this city because they weren't given an option to have a shelter. As it was said earlier, people are losing hope, and they need to have people to believe in and that they can trust, and they're not trusting many people right now. We do not get paid to do this job, but we do it because we need to do it and because we care about them. For every meal that I serve or every supply that I hand out, do you know what I charge someone? A single hug. That's it. And that may be the only one that they receive in a long time. When I make a promise to someone, I keep it. So why can't the city? Can I bring these up, just handouts with the questions?
Sure. Michael Wormuth.
Good evening. I understand that the homelessness and the need for, intervention with the city is, it's very important, but it's also very important to the community to also have structure and cleanliness. Like the issue with the, what I understand the issue with what they called the tent areas was because it was, they didn't have proper.
Closer to the microphone.
Excuse me, sir?
Would you please come closer to the microphone? I can't hear. I'm not sure if the
Okay.
Can you state your name as well?
Michael Wormuth. Thank you. What I noticed with them areas was that they lacked porta-johns or garbage, and that's what becomes one of the major problematic. It's an eyesore to the city and whatnot, but it's there's very small needs that can be addressed that can eliminate most of those issues, like zoning different areas where they could put their tents, in certain times or certain months. And so it doesn't cause, how would you say this, an overabundance of garbage or whatnot, because that's a lot of the issue is that a lot of the homeless, this is what I have noticed, don't have anywhere to put their tents or somewhere to sleep at night. So it could be something that could be solved with a very minimal impact to the city or to other people. Would just be, these are the areas during these times that you can set up or where you can set up your tents. That was one of the solutions. But that was all I had to say about those issues. But I thank you for your time this evening, and I thank you for hearing us.
Thank you. Aaron Lee?
Good evening, City Council. My name is Aaron Lee. I'm a resident of the city. Last week I was here and I spoke upon our family members that's actually homeless. It's not just me. It's an abundance number of us. Me as well, I'm a taxpayer. I pay taxes. So also within the HUD, which is Section 8, housing, I believe there's a protocol somewhere in place, homeless prevention. So when you're trying to provide homeless prevention, you're going to provide resources, which means we're not going to let this person go homeless. We're going to try to step forward and overcome this so that this person does not go homeless. It seems like it's a pandemic just like the COVID, and there's no vaccine to cure it, but we can help out. We can come together to make sure these things are done. I'm currently in that shelter, that one shelter here in Scranton, and my time is almost up. And I asked, and I asked, and I pled, and I wanted housing assistance, preventive of homelessness. I'm a taxpayer, so my money goes into it as well. Also, last week, I believe it should have been some budget put together for a coordinator. I believe Tom from DPW had something to say about that. When Mrs. Doctor should have had something to say. Mrs. Doctor was absent for almost 20 minutes during our last hearing. And then there was nothing stated about the homelessness that's going on from the doctor. I think the doctor should also oversee what's going on, and can that budget be fulfilled? And also, there's people that's on the waiting list of Section 8, HUD housing, homeless prevention. We got people in wheelchairs. We have people with mental illnesses that cannot come here and speak on their own behalf. And I will continue to come here and speak on their behalf. Also, the other week, I witnessed that there was a parent that had a child with them and could not go into the shelter because the child was not 18 or older. So there is not just adults that's homeless. We have children that is homeless. And where is homeless prevention? Again, where I go back to. There's no answers. In the last meeting, no one addressed the homelessness. Where is the budget? There was questions asked to me, which I felt was very disrespectful. So I have all these questions to you. So if my date comes up within the next 2 to 3 days and I'm homeless, this is public streets. I should be able to allow to walk all through these streets around City Hall, put a tent next door and sleep there peacefully, or go next to the police station and walk around that until I pass out correctly, right? And if the sidewalks is not paved right, so now I'm gonna get stagnant and continue doing the same thing and get weak. And then that's city's property, correct? So then that, I believe that's a lawsuit on the hands, which I don't wanna do. Why fight amongst each other? Also, the other week, I was walking behind CIC 445 North 6th Avenue, and I had an officer harass me and asked me for my ID. I never committed not one single crime, and I thought it was against the rules that I was being harassed, which in several meetings said, leave the homeless alone. Can I get that officer's number, badge number? Because I want to make sure that the homeless is not going to be harassed. Just because I'm a man walking down the street or alley, there's not a sidewalk there, but you come through with an F-150 black truck and want me to move out your way? I was just leaving at a CIC. How about let's go with the ordinance? How many times have any of these organizations, CIC, St. Anthony's, or the Mission, when was their last fire inspection? Why is there gates on windows? Was they there before that structure was built? Why is there gates, bars? You cannot exit those windows just in case of a fire. How do we exit? You, the city, you tell me that, or can we get that fire chief over there as soon as possible? I'm not going to stand down for none of this, because if I got to go, we all going. Count you, Doctor, Matt, you,
Thank
Tom.
you, Mr. Lee. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Time is up. Rick? If you're going to outburst, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. This is a public meeting. Thank you. Rick Cephalus?
Good evening, distinguished gentlemen and ladies of the City Council. If you guys don't remember me, I'm Rick Cephas, president of the NAACP, Lackawanna County branch. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I just want to read you to something, okay? And this is what the NAACP considers the world guide to dealing with police. If you're approached by an officer, ask for a lawyer immediately. Upon being arrested or being in custody, stay calm and keep your emotions from getting the best of you. Be courteous even if the officer isn't. Carry identification at all times and be prepared to produce it. Keep your hands where the officer can see them. Take pictures if you're injured and seek medical attention as soon as possible. Remember the officers' names and badge numbers as well as any witness information. Write everything down. Don't run. Don't touch the officer. Don't make any statements about the incident without first having spoken to a lawyer, because you do have the right to remain silent. Now, if you're on the street, an officer may briefly stop to ask you identifying questions. You're not required to answer those questions, but failing to answer simple ones truthfully will make the officer suspicious. They're always suspicious. If requested, show your ID. That's all we have to do is show it. You're not required to consent to a search of yourself or your property. If police have reasonable suspicion that you have a weapon or illegal substance, they may do a pat-down. Don't resist. If you feel you have been lawfully detained, remember the officer's badge number and all identifying information. Use your cell phone and other technology to record or photograph the interaction if you can do so safely. I'm not going to berate counsel or anybody else for inactions or the actions of certain officers that work on the force. I'm not going to berate you over the treatment of the homeless because you've already got that. Last time I was here, it was mistaking my anger for passion. Do not mistake my anger for my passion. I am not angry. I am never angry. I am very passionate about my position. I am very passionate about who I represent. And if you did not notice, I was one of those ones that stood up when she asked if you had ever been homeless. Stand up. I stood up. I was homeless in Atlanta. I was homeless up here. And I was given the right opportunities to get my life right. And these are the same opportunities that no one else seems to get. And I want to know why. I want to know why these resources aren't made available. Hold on. Now you're talking about the resources. Where's the plan? Where's it wrote out? What do you plan to do about it? Where is that sketched out? And then you got to sit down and talk with us. How can we make this work for everybody? Okay? And then you can talk budget. Then you can talk numbers. We don't want to put the horse in front of the cart. But I haven't heard any plans on what to do about this homeless situation here in Scranton. I haven't heard anything about plans to deal with the teenagers that are homeless out here, that go to school and then go back to the streets. And then they got this crazy game plan that you want to implement, and I don't understand where that came from, and I don't understand why the NAACP wasn't brought into that conversation. They're still having talks about gang-related incidences and programming that the people that need to be in those talks have not been invited to. So the only thing I'm asking City Council to do is to do your job and to remind the people of Scranton, we put them up there. I just want you to remember that. We put them up there. We can also take them out. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of the sign-in list. Does anybody else want to speak to council?
Tom Coyne, Manuka. Council, I was at the walkability study, and I found it interesting when people in the public provided comment and reasonable statements for clarification and opposition. The mayor stood up and tried to interfere with the public comments. Only those in opposition, in fact. A section of the people were painted as those people who oppose. The presenter asked, based on my questions, are you a lawyer? If I was fast enough, I would have responded, objection, relevance. And in thinking about it, I'm not sure if being asked if I was a lawyer was a compliment or an insult. I understand the comment was meant to interrupt my line of questionings. When they presented terms that I don't understand, I do research. I ran into studies that opposed what they actually said, and then brought that up as a review. It is then that the mayor jumped up and tried to stop me during public comment, but that's for a later time. Well, we removed the waiver of residency from the agenda, but from the backup document it shows that his start date requested was 9/2 of 2023. Which is well beyond the 6-month period. What's also disturbing is the lack of and the avoidance of anything in that entire document stating the employee's official original start date. It was obvious avoidance of the issue. Now on to Mr. Schuster's question last week on 501(3)(c)s. Let's take a closer look. Before you were even homeless, some of this is outdated because it changes over the years. I will pretext this on whenever you ask a utility for help or to use a program like a credit card company, they avoid the help path and try to put you on back billing and a payment plan to catch up with your current bill. They loathe just to offer you a way out first and try to upsell the help that's not in your interest. People in the city looking for help, they go to welfare, drag in a lot of paperwork. They offer food stamps, and if it's headed off to winter, you can apply for LIHEAP for your primary heating. You say you have other issues with shut-off notices and such. You may get cash and insurance, but the insurance really lacks mental health. It's often for a 45-minute session, max once a week, more often once a month, so they can give you meds. They may help you if they know the electric was shut off and it's not your primary heat. or you add a notice. You can put it up for a LIHEAP emergency in there. But then it goes to went to a 501(c) in Carbondale for review. If you had water or sewer issues, you had to go to Hilltop, to the food bank, and fill out paperwork for an H2O help grant in a 2 or 3 hour window once or twice a week. If you wanted help with your insulation for your home, no one was aware of and would tell you that there is a weatherization program that is run by the city, that is run by the state. But if you go to that website, it lists the location as the bank building on Wyoming and Spruce. It's obviously that building, since it's empty for years, not anyone is in there, and there is no signs on it that they actually moved. You call the state number, they offer up the web page, and that gives you the same bad information. The actual place it's located is in the Globe store now. Need some utility help and you're not sure? Maybe rental assistance? Well, then NeighborWork was handling the federal aid and would pay some and get county funds as well, but that was the COVID funds, and they may or may not be doing it now. So you have to contend with the time of year, Center City, public assistance, Carbondale reviewing it, travel to Southside Hill section when the food bank is open twice a week, track down a group who is moved with no forwarding address, visit another Center City location for information, and they're not aware that where that agency is. Do the gymnastics. It's impossible for those who have drug or mental issues. This is not a Scranton issue. It's how 501(c)s work in other regions as well. Why is it not coordinated? Because each 501(c) gets its cut. If you coordinate it, and it makes it easier, but then you don't need 5 or 6 agencies each getting a cut of the pie. There's a disincentive to making help centralized. And every few years, the location and the players change. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, Doris Klosky, Scranton resident. What I have to say now seems trivial. I wanted to talk about that walkability study. I had a few questions. I was unable to make the meeting, and I only know what I saw in the paper. And according to them, they were going to take down the traffic lights and put in the 4-way stop signs. And something was said about if it didn't work out, they'd have to put all those traffic lights back in, would be way too expensive, so they weren't going to be able to do that. I myself can't understand how 4-way stop signs would be better than traffic lights. I mean, I have one right on my corner. Cars sit there like, you go, you go, you go, and wave each other on, and then they start going at the same time half the time, and then they stop again. But what my suggestion is, if that really passes and they were going to do something like replace those with 4-way stop signs, why not leave the traffic lights intact? Put up a test of the 4-way stop signs. Let's see how it goes. If it's not good, they take the 4 stop signs out, and the traffic lights are there intact to turn on. You could turn the lights off while you're working with the 4-way stop signs. Why don't you test it out before you spend a whole lot of money and then find out it's not going to work? A lot of big places I was at when I visited, like my granddaughter, streets like Wyoming Avenue, that width, they had islands in the middle. They had extra traffic lights. You crossed from one side of the corner to the island on one light, and then you went from the island across the rest of the way on the other lights. And the cars went down one side and up the other. And they all had push buttons. So, I mean, I don't know, but it bothered me to think that the city would tear down all the traffic lights, put up 4-way stop signs, which in my opinion aren't going to work, but I don't really know that much about it, except for what I see when I'm driving around. And then if it doesn't work out, what are they going to do? So I just say, why don't you run a test before you vote on it? The other thing, as long as I still have some time, is they still haven't cut the curb down up on Olive and Colfax, if that's ever going to happen. And that's it. Have a good night, people.
Thank you, Doris. Anyone else?
Norma Jeffries, Scranton resident. And again, I have to say that it's just very enlightening to hear the information that was presented by the homeless people. I've never been homeless. I don't know what that's like, but I do know the reason that I volunteer so much is that I don't want to stay on my level and only be surrounded by those like me. I volunteer so that I can get involved with those situations that I've never been involved with before. It's been very enlightening to, as I said last week, to work at the Keystone Missions that we do meals down there, to do the sleeping bags for the homeless. So would I be involved with that if I wasn't volunteering? Probably not, because I would go to lunch with those people just like me that can afford those things just like I can afford. So it gives me great opportunity to look around because but for the grace of God, there go I. And I think we've all probably heard that particular Bible verse. So I have to, again, speak for them, and I'll continue to volunteer. I'll continue to do those things that I do to help not only the homeless, and there's a lot of people that the food insecurities out there as well. So that's, that I wasn't going to speak about that. That's not why I came to the podium, but, saying nothing means that I agree if I don't say something. I wanted to give more information, and I thank you. I think, Mr. Smurl, you mentioned about the cleanup that's going to be up at NAACP Park for Earth Day. Earth Day is April 22nd, and we are asking for volunteers to come to NAACP on April 20th, and to come with your rakes and your gloves to help us out. There is a phone number that you can call to register yourself or your group. That number is 570-241-9008. And if you could leave your information on that, just so we can get an idea of just who's going to be there and who's coming. Lord willing, I'll be there at the concession stand to help those to get organized and hopefully to give out the bags that day. So also at the park, if anyone's been there, we've installed 30 new tables, picnic tables in the park. And they're steel, and they're absolutely wonderful. A lot of them were put by one of the playgrounds, the Jay Bird Playground, and they're scattered out so that as we see families there coming to use the playground equipment, they can also now have their picnic lunch there at the tables. And thank you to Mr. Smurl and a lot of other volunteers this past Saturday. They did install 30 tables. So that's another thing that as summer days are coming, that they can avail themselves of those. I'm hoping that we can hear something from the Park and Recs Department as to the cleanup that's needed. And I know, Mr. Schuster, you're working on that, so I'm hoping that we can get something definite before Memorial Day, because once Memorial Day hits, that's when the park becomes very, very active, and we'll start our summer concerts and everything like that. So we just enjoy seeing people enjoy NAACP Park, but we also want it to be all that it can be and the gym that it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. Anyone else wish to address council?
Good evening, Council. Dave Dobson, resident. taxpayer. You know, on October 2nd of 2000, my house burned. It was a rental, and you know, I was fortunate. I had fortitude to buy insurance and everything, and I kind of took the burn off the deal. But you know, for about 2 or 3 nights, I was sleeping in my car with my doggie to keep her calm, and didn't know where I was going to go, and I found a partially furnished house, and everything worked out. But I understand, and we have a national problem with homeless. Before COVID, there was 55,000 children attending school in New York City, homeless, out of homeless shelters. And now it's exponentially more, like 3, maybe 4 times, who knows. And the shipping people up from the border isn't helping either. Now, I'll get to what I was about to talk about earlier. Landfill slapped with the $575,000 fine. Well, you know, back in the 1980s, I heard there was $225,000 a day being taken in. So, I mean, talk about, don't do that again. We'll send you a nasty letter with perfect punctuation. Now, the point in being that they also want to dump sewer water, their leachate water, into a brook that flows right through Naog Gorge. And it's a shame. I hope people wake up to that and just say no. And as far as the PA Water Company is concerned, I think when these people do egregious things, hold the executives responsible. Tell them, off the board, you're no longer a member of the board of PA American Water. And by the way, if you want to sell your stocks cheap, it'd be helpful. We don't need this. 95% of them are stream damaged. And okay, now with our downtown theme park, and that's what I call it, a theme park. The costs. Nobody asked, and I could kick myself for it, but my leg doesn't go that far anymore. I'm 70 on Thursday. But is $8 million ever going to really be enough to put all new period lights, all new sidewalks, bury the electricity underground, all kinds of paving, all kinds of sprucing up, and what do we have? A whole lot of ornamentation. And then some of it, it's like I said, this issue's been here before, up at Scranton U, you can't see the students behind the trees. And then the boys, of course, I'm big and tough, I'm young. They don't press the crosswalk light, and they step right out in front of you. You know, it's just, and I hear nothing ever from these universities and colleges about counter arguments for this. No counter research, nothing. It's just like, oh, this is it. This is like manna from heaven. God told us to do this or whatever. But I don't hear any kind of, so I'm going to have to go online and do some research on this, and hopefully some other people will get a bug in their ear and do the same about the negatives of this. Look up the old newspaper, what cities it was done, and see about citizens that don't like it. And furthermore, being that they are 501c3s and C4s, that means tax exempt. And in order to be tax exempt, you have to educate the public on both sides of the coin, not just your side, Not just God's going to come down and save us all day from the flood, so don't bother building the boat. Have a good day.
Okay. Anyone else?
What I don't understand is we were homeless.
Ma'am,
See?
can you say your name, please?
My name's Luella. I'm here to speak about how we were homeless, and there was things for us. All I keep hearing about what you guys didn't do. There is things that you did do, and I'm here to advocate for that because I don't want to lose our programs, okay? I came from CIC program. I came from Keystone. I came from Weston Field. I go swimming there. I get to go work out there. There's beautiful things you guys offer, okay? So I'm going to advocate for that. I have an apartment now. I lived outside for 6 months in a tent that people took care of me, see. I did the program. I went through CIC. I did the right things. I have an apartment. A lot of people don't want to do the work, so they're not given the privileges, right? So I just want to say that I don't want to see you guys take away what we already have, because I hear a lot of what we don't have and what we do this. This is wrong, okay? They need to be saying what they do have, and they need to understand that they have to work a program to get something, to get somewhere. My identity was stolen. Everything was taken away from me. I was like Job in the Bible, I call it, right? I came back. I have a place to stay. When it was blizzard outside, I sat in my apartment praying, thank God you guys did something for me, because I know those programs come from you guys, okay? So I hear all this stuff about what you don't do, okay? I saw what you do, because I am a success story here. Now, there is a program that needs to be done here, though. I want to make a STAR program called Self-Taught Angel Resources. People need to have steps on how to get back their identity, okay? My license was stolen, my money was stolen, my credit cards, I'm on SSI, everything was stolen from me. I had nothing. But if there wasn't those programs, I wouldn't have eaten. I wouldn't have had a place to sleep. I wouldn't have had friends. I wouldn't have had nobody. So I am a success story because of you guys, okay? Just want to let you know that.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, I didn't hear it.
Thank you.
Give it to Mr. Voldenberg, please. There you go.
Hi, my name's Rick Little, and I tell you, homelessness is like first day of wrestling practice in spades. It's just hell. And the homeless thing is based on the homeless person's behavior. And because all the things, it's a behavioral thing. I've been trying to get help, and they use the courts. When I say they, I mean the federal funded agency, Scranton Housing Authority. They use the courts, and they won. And the problem is laws. I hear people, oh yeah, shout out to Lee Morgan. He's right on about the public access, because they changed the laws. I was all involved in that, but they changed the laws. It's been messed up here for about 30 years through about 5 mayors. A lot of bad things have happened. Kids for cash and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I'm homeless. I'm trying to figure out, how did this happen, you know? Because my landlord was just attacking me day after day. They confiscated my stuff. They put it in another room. I called the police. The police say, see the manager? And we're talking about code enforcement. They're doing construction for 2 years. I didn't know who to call. That's when I started coming to here talking, you know, because, you know, I go to the police. I went to every place I could, you know, the sheriffs. Sheriffs don't know what's going on. I'm doing court watching. I'm watching the courts, and immediately I'm surrounded by all these sheriffs and, questioning me, what are you doing? And, they take your phone away. And all my evidence, I was always on my phone. But these are particular things. So I get evicted, and I get this letter from, I guess it's Judge Barasi's sister, on October 3rd. This is where I prevailed in court, but I'm waiting on the ERAP funds. I applied for it 4 times, and I'll read a little bit of the letter. Please be advised that I am the solicitor to the Lackawanna County Area Agency on Aging. I am in receipt of your correspondence dated September 21st, 2022, wherein you provide a history of some of your housing issues related to your apartment. While the LCAA, Lackawanna County Area Agency on Aging, is not a party to the eviction proceedings, our focus has been twofold. First, we provide you with resources available to all Lackawanna County residents to assist in the eviction proceedings. And second, provide you with alternative housing resources in the event the final court process finds in favor of your landlord, which is SHA. Additionally, our office assisted you with completing your ERAP application, made recommendations as to financial counseling and/or representative payee services, like Advocacy Alliance, provided you with food supplies, offered Meals on Wheels delivery, and referred you to the Scranton Counseling Center with caseworker accompaniment offered. With the exception of the ERAP application, you have refused all offered services. LCAA has also investigated allegations of financial exploitation and emotional abuse of me. Unfortunately, you made general allegations without any specific information of evidence or substantiate either financial exploitation or emotional abuse. Well, later on in the letter, here's what it says. ERAP is willing to pay your back rent and SHA will accept those funds as payment in full. And then they take me back to court after the ERAP runs out. It's all about follow the money, the federal money. Keep on it.
Keep on. Anyone else?
Good evening, Council. Lynn Lebrowski, lifelong resident, homeowner, business owner. So we survived the eclipse. Speaking of that, I feel like something is really changing in this city. I feel like the dark is coming to light, and I just feel a movement happening. The homeless, the garbage, and other issues in the city are finally being exposed. Also, I'm seeing more community involvement, people coming together, more communications, cleanups, rec parks, NAOG, side streets, but it's not coming with any help from the city. It's all volunteers. And volunteers are great, but we could use a little help from the city and support from the city, I would think. I had a woman reach out to me that found me through council, and it was just 3 of us, and we cleaned up a pretty good section of a street where it wasn't even just garbage, it was overgrowth and leaves and all types of things. So 1 hour and 3 people, and it wasn't that hard. My husband yesterday and the day before, or yesterday and today, actually picked up a homeless woman and took her to pick up trash. She wants to work, so he gave her something to do. And they cleaned an entire empty lot and filled bags, and anyway, today they went back to finish, and a DPW truck did pull up, a pickup truck. And basically refused to take the garbage because it wasn't separated. I don't know what to say. And maybe it wasn't that person's fault. Maybe it was from higher up or whatever, because I do believe there was a neighbor that came out and was very, very thankful. Her name was Ann, and she appreciated it, and she said she was going to contact DPW. But basically, DPW did not pick up the trash, and they wasted an entire hour of the city's time in not picking up the trash. I guess they refused to take it, but I just don't know. I'm just wondering what it's going to take to get city departments to do their jobs and step up and do what they're being paid to do. I just think people are fed up with the direction that the city's going, and aside from the tax breaking the people's backs in this city, like, can we talk about the potholes? Because, like, I literally watched a mother with a baby strapped to her chest today, crossing the street with her small daughter, 3 or 4 years old. And, like, I have a dash cam, so I'm gonna check on that, but she, like, literally fell in a pothole in the middle of the street. And she yanked her daughter up by the hand, and of course I asked if they were okay, if they needed a ride, I would have done that, but it's just unacceptable. And she said, well, that's because our mayor is not doing anything for us in this city. And those were her words, not mine. But, like, literally a kid laying in the middle of the road. So, I got a lot of time, huh? So the street signs, the contracts, Les's sidewalk, I don't know, I just wrote down a bunch of bullet points. Thanks, Norma. Like, little simple things that are dire. I just don't understand where the common sense is. Like, lawsuits are waiting to happen, and I know out front the steps are dark. When you leave here at night, it's dark out there. Somebody's gonna fall, somebody's gonna get hurt. Oh, and the big gaping hole in the ground, it's been there for 8 months. They finally put a stop work order on it. It was stopped work done 8 months ago, and then they went up and put a couple horses around it, but there's still a big gaping hole in the ground. So yeah, and I did see the mayor at the ribbon cutting for the movie theater, and she assured me that she was ramping it up to an emergency, but the hole's not filled in and it's still wide open. So yeah.
What was the location of that hole?
It was Hampton and 12th, yeah. And across the street are a big bunch of cinder blocks out in the middle of the road for as long as the hole on the other side has been there. But, like, you gotta come up to this podium and pick your battles. You can't, I wanted to talk about the homeless, I wanted to talk about a lot of things, but you run out of time, and there's not just like 1 or 2 issues in this city, there's like a lot of issues. So, all right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Frank, could we take a look at Hampton and 12th? Send that over and see what we get, if we get any information on that.
DPW was out on both.
Okay,
I'll
thank you.
follow up,
John Toms, senior from Scranton. You have to bear with me, I'm a terrible speaker. I'm here about, I was here a couple of times in the past, about the situation in the 1700 block of Dixon Avenue in Lower Greenridge. You have a school there on one side at the top of the hill, Electric Street. The other side, you have a new high-rise that hasn't opened yet. It's going to be opening. And you go a little further on the other side of the street, there's another senior high-rise. The street is narrow. And I think that somebody from council and somebody that studies traffic should go down there and have to take a look at it for themselves. And, you know, get some kind of answer. I think it should be a one-way, but I don't know. I'm not a traffic study person. You have to look at it in the traffic. Another thing is, you're familiar with the giant in Greenwich Plaza. In the front there, the big area, I don't know if they're putting a new building or water or what's going on. It's all fenced out for a couple of months now. So the Colts bus, what they have to do is they have to go around in the back of the giant, where you have your where they load their trucks and so on. And there's other like little stores, and that back road there's a lot of potholes back there. And I was wondering, if they could fill that in sometime. That is considered a city road, isn't it? It's right in back of the giant.
I don't know. I'll put it down.
Yeah, if somebody could, you know.
Is that Naog Ave, or is it?
That's Naog Avenue there, in Greenwich, giant market in the back. On a lighter note, the 500 block of Lackawanna Avenue, you have Bueno Pizza across the street. And then you have on one side of the street, across the street you have a bank, I can't figure what the name of it is. And next to that is an art gallery. And on the art gallery, on the wall, they have the office mural. I'm sure one of you must have seen it, maybe all. I just want a suggestion. I don't know anybody in the art department, maybe somebody in council or mayor, could get together, and on the other side, there's like a little parking lot there, is the restaurant, the Coney Island restaurant, and that wall is like a big wall right across from where the Seinfeld mural is. If they could put a Seinfeld mural on the other side, I think it'd be a nice suggestion. This is something that, because I live in town and I'm retired, I walk around town all that. And as you know, the Rite Aid is closed for a while now. I think it'd be nice if the city could possibly get in touch with somebody, or they'll put a drugstore in there that sells non-prescription drugs, like over-the-counter drugs, because in downtown you have prescription center and you have Sheely's, and of course they're mainly prescriptions. So if somebody could open up like a little buddy call for drugs, over-the-counter drugs, I think it'd be a pretty good idea. Where Rite Aid was. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address council?
Good evening, Council. Mike Mancini, Scranton. Thank you for the three of you present here this evening, and unfortunately the two of you that just want to hear. As we move forward, I want to address Council this evening about something that's very personal to me. Right now the gloves are off. That's canines. I brought this matter up 2 weeks ago with the intention of making sure that our city remains safe from crime, from violence, from drugs and guns. We have 2 canines that could hit on fentanyl and guns. One of them is going to be retiring in not so distant future. It's going to leave us with one throughout the school year and into the month of December. It's 40 hours. There's 168 hours in the week. How is that safe? It's not. Mr. Smurl, after I spoke about this, I heard a story from one father to another. I heard not too long ago about you losing a child as well. We hear about this far too often now. Down in West Hazelton, there was a traffic stop. Gentleman pulled over 2,000 fake M30s, enough to kill 37 people. Do you think there's 2,000 of them here in the city? I do. They're all over the place. Drugs are running rampant. And this mayor, she decides to do nothing about it. More important to her are stop signs in downtown Scranton. What really bothers me too is that we have a canine unit since last summer that's been driving around without air conditioning. That canine is supposed to have a harness, something around its neck to make sure that it stays safe in the back. Mayor doesn't care. She's not even from here. She's from the West Coast, Oregon. Pacific Coast Page. Let me tell you something. PCPs are not good for you. Pacific Coast Page will go in the not so distant future. This railway system's coming through. She's leaving this area unsafe, leaving her police officers at risk, leaving our city at risk. There's not one solution. What does she do? She displaces people that are living together like a family, the homeless. She just scattered them all throughout the region, not just in the city, but throughout Lackawanna County. All right, with no plan in place. A good administrator would have a plan in place. Bigger cities, they use these storage containers. We're sitting on a whole bunch of ARPA funds. She cares about street signs, giving money to people that are pushing candles, giving money to people free so they can leave the area. It's not good enough for me. These roads are atrocious. When the roads go bad, we start to receive blight. All right, blight's not good for the area because it attracts crime. It attracts undesirables. And we're going to have that in our region. We already have it here. We've had gang activity since 2008, okay? This is unacceptable. She cannot find $60,000 in a budget for 3 canines. She doesn't deserve to be the mayor if that's the case. If you cannot find $60,000 to keep your community safe, it's not worth voting her back into office. You know, she's firing people. There's other people that need to go as well. Tom Oleski, CIC, you know what that is? Confidential informant car. It might be on your schedule, it might not be, maybe Tuesday, 3 o'clock. Watch the people when you walk in there because somebody might end up getting a free detail at your expense. The EPA and the DEP are coming. And as far as Mike Gawardi, the guy likes to pick cans out of the trash up in NAACP instead of doing his duty and being a good city employee and looking at these houses. Instead, he's up at NAACP picking cans out of the garbage. That's fine, because I remember him from St. Anne's Monastery.
Thank you,
Pack
Mr.
50,
Thank you,
he had the
Mr.
worst
Benson.
car. 12th place. It's quite the focker.
Is there anyone else?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
Mr. King, do you have any motions or comments?
I have one comment. I know that I mentioned that we recently received $333,955 for the city of Scranton from a multimodal grant through the Commonwealth Financing Authority. The person that was integral in us receiving those funds is former Scranton City Council President Kyle Donahue, who's now our state representative. So I just wanted to, I like to give credit where credit is due, and I want to thank our state rep for providing that funding that's going to help us to get more street signs in the city, and hopefully we can get that project rolling. And I appreciate Representative Kyle Donahue for taking care of us in that way. Also, tomorrow, the city of Scranton is going to be honored with the Governor's Award at 10:30 tomorrow down in Harrisburg. And that honor is coming, you know, pretty much so because of the fact that we've been able to turn the city around in terms of finances. It wasn't long ago, less than 2.5 years ago, that the city, for 30 years, was in Act 47 financial recovery, and now we have a triple B plus bond rating. So we've come a long way. We have a long way to go, but we were nominated for this Governor's Award, and I'm hoping to get down there tomorrow with, I think our council president is going to be down there as well, along with the mayor, but that's a great honor for the city of Scranton. So looking forward to go down there and see us get recognized in Harrisburg
for helping to turn the city around financially. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Schuster, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I have several comments. The first one was last week, an individual from the Municipal Rec Board asked about leaf pickup in NAOG. I did send out an email either that night or the following morning. I didn't hear anything back yet. I sent another one yesterday. I haven't heard anything back as of today. But Mr. Smurl and Caucus brought up about getting DPW over possibly with the vac truck to the Earth Day cleanup. So that might be a good day to get that over there. But if I find out something or get any information back, I'll report out. We did get a memo to council about some budget transfers. So there are 3 budget transfers. One is one of those transfers is we're transferring $121,870 from the child care wage boost to the child care individual reimbursement. The second one is $139,984 from the wage boost, again, to the business startup fund. And then $405,676 from the small business grants line item to the small business startup fund. So, Mr. Voldenberg, what I'm going to ask is if we could reach out to the business office and ask for the reasoning for this, whether some of these programs are more successful than others, or what kind of metrics we're using to move this money into these areas rather than where they were originally.
I'll ask those questions, sir.
Thank you. So with the leaf pickup, it says it's part of the Parks Department's spring cleanup checklist, but the work has been delayed due to the weather. Large number of leaves that need to be removed by the vac truck. We're going to work on this as soon as the weather permits, or coordinate the vac truck pickup with the DPW. So that'll be that leaf pickup with DPW. Next, I've been traveling on Washburn Street, South Sherman Avenue, and noticed the condition of the roads. I do know they're doing some, PA American Water is doing some work on these areas. However, we do have to make our roads able to be drivable. At this point in time, I feel the roads in these areas are barely drivable, and it's the utility company's responsibility to ensure that we can drive on the roads. There was a question asked last week about the pave cut inspector, so we did get an answer, and I'm going to steal Mr. King's question, I guess. So the city has one dedicated pave cut position in DPW and a floater that works between the pave cut and traffic. So I do have a question for the administration, Mr. Voldenberg, and it is, can we get a comparables list of pave cut receivables from 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024? So that'd be revenues brought in from those pave cut permits for those 4 years, so we could compare them. I know at this point in time in our budget, we do have 2 positions for pave cut inspectors, and the other question is, as we got the answer that we have 1 dedicated pave cut inspector, is the other position opened? I would assume it's open, but if that position is open.
I'll find out, sir.
Thank you. When it comes to labor billing, did we receive any other further labor billing?
We have not.
Right.
I checked
Thank
yesterday morning, and there was no other billing.
Again. Thank you. If we could ask again. I know I've made several requests. One request was to get the labor billing for the fire and police contracts. I've kind of expanded that request to get all labor billing up until this point. So if we could reach out again on that. Next, the Kaiser Valley grant process. Can we find out where we're at with the Kaiser Valley grant process? How many grants have been awarded, what we have pending, and if any were declined?
I will, sir.
Thank you. I also sent an email over to you, Mr. Voldenberg, in the last several days from the areas of Woodlawn, Grandview, and Wyoming Avenue. There was a request about storm basins and a cleanup schedule. Spring is coming, and I know some of the heavy rains are going to start. And in those areas, they were concerned about basins that were full.
They've been reported, and an additional one on Grandview Street.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. That's all, Mr. Smurl.
Thank you, Mr. Schuster. Dr. Rothchild, do you have any motions or comments?
Yes, I have a few comments, mostly in response to a lot of what was spoken about tonight during citizens' participation. There's first one thing that I want to address, which I know that I don't need to address, but I'm going to anyway in the event that it comes up again in the future. But I did mention last week that some of my absences have been due to medical illness. Also, I just had a baby 2 weeks ago, so I do have a newborn. If I am absent for a period of time during the meetings or the caucus, it's because I'm a breastfeeding mother. So I might be breastfeeding my child who's downstairs right now, or pumping breast milk, which I don't think you want me doing here in council chambers during the meeting. So I will take that time to go out and do that. I am allotted up to 12 weeks from my job as a physical therapist for maternity leave. I'm not taking maternity leave here. It's important for me to come to council, spend my Tuesday nights here, and do my job as a city council woman, and still perform my job as a mother. So I'm going to keep doing that, and if anyone has a problem with it, tough. And the next thing I'm going to address is with regards to the homeless and displaced community. First off, I want to say I absolutely sympathize with those who are homeless or displaced. I've never found myself in that situation, fortunately, but I do understand that some people are just one paycheck away from being there, don't have a place to go, or they lose their jobs, they don't know what to do next. There's a lot of situations that people get into that can result in them becoming displaced. And, I hate to see that happen. I hate to see that we do have many who are homeless here within the city. And I've previously spoken about the issue in past council meetings. I think I've spoken more about it than other council members, and with more sympathy towards that community. I also have spoken in the past with the police chief, and it has been a little bit of time, so I will go to him again for further updates. But at the time when we spoke, I was told that people were not being actively removed from homeless encampments, or their properties were not being destroyed. I know maybe some of that has changed now, which I definitely want to address. And he also expressed to me that their primary concern were if there were crimes being committed, then that's when they would step in and intervene. He also explained that the officers do try to help provide resources to those that are homeless. So I'm only relaying what some of the discussion that we had in the past was, and that's what I would hope would be happening. I've also stated the need for more shelters and resources. If I could get a new shelter set up tomorrow, I absolutely would. But we certainly have to be working with different community organizations to do that. See what monies are available to do that. Some of the key people within the city that I believe that that would fall under would be the public health coordinator. However, we've been without a public health coordinator. I would really like to see that position filled. I think we had a year left still within a grant to pay for that person, but I think that would be an appropriate person to help address the issue. Also, the committee that falls under me is community development, so having a director for the Office of Community Development would be additionally very helpful, and that would be another place where we could work together to find some more solutions for the homeless community. So I understand wanting to see action, and I'm absolutely committed to continuing conversations with the administration and our departments to figure out an actionable plan to be able to help people. So that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rothchild. Mr. McAndrew, do you have any motions or comments?
I have a couple, thank you. So I'm going to address I'm only speaking on behalf of myself, but why 5E was pulled, and the problem I have with it being pulled. Because I'm a man of process and procedure and principle. So I've been on council for 5 years. I'm entering my 5th year. And the problem I have with this is, and I agree, we constantly hear the term that City Hall is a revolving door, okay? And, frankly, the Scranton City has more turnovers than National Bakery and quite possibly Pillsbury. And there's a reason for that. So 2 weeks ago, the head of DPW resigned, okay? The next day in the paper, the gentleman who's going to replace him or cover for him is the gentleman who already passed his 6 months and had to move into the city, and he did not. So then, the administrative code in the Home Rule Charter says if the mayor wants a waiver, it has to be sent for advice and consent to us before the hire, right? This gentleman's already working here 6 months. So then legislation comes down for a waiver for this gentleman, where it's already too late. And it comes after his 6 months. And then we get a letter that he's not going to move into the city. And so then, but then today, he showed some residence way past his 6 months. That's nothing personal against this guy, but, I took an oath to follow the Home Rule Charter and the Administrative Code and every other code into it. And I just feel like that, in the 9th inning of a baseball game, you don't change the rules. In the 4th quarter of a football game, you don't change the rules. I just feel I'm being played. And I don't appreciate how this whole process went down. Because it's not fair to everybody else who lives in the city and works in the city, because they have to. Arbitration's another story. That was awarded to the police. That was done a different way, right? The rules are the rules. So I just want to give my take on what happened, and I'm not happy because, like I said earlier, I'm a procedural process guy who votes on principle. All right, so with that said, next, so Mr. Voldenberg, there's an abandoned car on Scranton Avenue. I've been, brought it up twice. It's still there. I drove on the way here. It's still there. I know it had a couple tickets 3 weeks ago. It's still there with a flat tire, and it's still too close to the stop sign. So could we please follow up with that?
I will.
Thank you. And Ms. Joan Hadowanitz, she brought up the issue with the, I don't know what you call them, the boxes on each side of the crosswalk where you hit the button and you're able to give a lot of time to cross. If they're not working, that's a huge issue, and thank you for bringing that to our attention. Could we also look at that or have the department that handles that take a look at that? In regards, and in tandem with what you brought up about replacing streetlights with stop signs, I have the same issue you have with it, multiple issues, especially regarding the handicap, how they're able to get across in time, say you're in a wheelchair, say you're in a walker, and also if you can't hear or see, this is a big issue. So like it was stated earlier, and we're aware that this whole study has to come before us. So when it does, I'll address this. You can count on it. All right, so next I have, last week we've been talking about, well, God love Norma, she's been talking about street signs as long as I'm here. And so, we got 2 pieces of information about amounts. And one was 125,290, and then one was the other. The city was awarded the grant, and thank you, Representative Donahue, for getting that for us, because we really need it, and you're going to help with this huge project. So when I asked, the first time I got, well, $125,000 is what we got. And then for the original sign project that's already bidded out, and then, but I asked, well, what does the 300, so what is 300 and $33,000 gets us in the way of signs? Because I wanted clarity for that. So I asked that again last week. So the answer I got for both amounts is the 125,290 feet covers the installation of up to 1,000 signs. That's great. So I think this is last year's project. because Part B is the $330,000 grant is a separate project that will be bid out. So let's see if that happens, because it's a little confusing as the bidding process, because we told we're not going to bid it out because we have the same, so I don't know. We'll keep our eye on that. But it will be bid out in order to complete the West Scranton, Greenridge, and the Plot sections of the city. So that should probably get us another maybe 3,000 signs or close to that. So we'll keep our eye on that. We'll make sure it's bid out. We make sure this project continues, because it's important for not just Norma, but for everybody. All right, so also I brought up, and I got a response for a couple properties. So the demolition list status, I know that 929 was not on it. The question I asked is, okay, if it's not on it, where is this property at? Because I was told by a resident that it's supposed to come down for 10 years, and it hasn't. So I don't know if they were doing asbestos, I forget what they do with the asbestos, not the abatement itself, or was it the abatement or the actual assessment? I don't know, or both. I didn't get that answer. All I got was, may the city, the question again was combined with some others, may the city please advise demolition status on the condemned properties of 929 Monroe, R11 Blair, Rear 111 Blair, and Harrington Place. So what we got, and the information we got back, was demo questions will be answered after our next internal meeting. So I don't know when that takes place, so that information is still forthcoming. And I believe that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAndrew. The four-way stop sign request that we sent in for Sanderson Avenue and Deacon Street, I had asked the mayor yesterday when I had a meeting with her if they would expedite that traffic study so that we can take from the table the rest of that legislation and move forward with it. Marie Schumacher had a request for the status and to revisit the condition of the temporary roadway on Seymour Avenue. The DPW is supposed to go up and reassess it and look at it. Trash pickup for Les Spindler to clear near Redner's Market. DPW was notified of it, and they said they would schedule the pickup of the trash. So, and this one is Mr. Ellman, the parked cars on Main Avenue. We notified Corporal Iannuzzo and asked if the police department would do that area and cite the illegally parked cars, and they said they would. So the unit block of South Webster Avenue, the illegal business that's been operating there, city did cite them, and they were notified of it, and I believe they cited them again. So it seems they just think they're going to keep opening. But the city was there to cite them. The stormwater report, Mrs. Schumacher, the city, the Planning Commission did approve the land development on January 24th of 24. So, and then all the permits are in. The permit is in for the concrete, and you can see it's underway up there for that building. And then you had requested, Mrs. Schumacher, again, information for the sale of the parking authority and of the sewer authority sale. All of that information, there's over 2,000 pages. It's available. You just contact Eileen Cipriani, and you have access to that whenever you'd like. Okay? And then I have one more thing. With this, the waivers for people coming down and the administration sending them down to the police department. So the arbitration award for 144 police officers was given to their residency waiver. And as of today, or as our HR department said, there are 10 police officers that have used the waivers, although there's 144 were given. So, Frank, I would just ask if you would ask the law department if everyone is going to continue to pay the earned income tax at the resident rate or as a non-resident rate, so that we know everyone is paying the same amount.
I'll ask that question, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have. Mr. King has one. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. King.
No, just one thing. I know that Mr. Mancini mentioned about the K-9 car. I believe that's Officer Ben Zaleski. Can you check with the police chief to find out if in fact the air conditioning in that K-9 car is not functioning, and if not, like, can we get that corrected? That's, I know that those dogs, especially, they're trained, and you know, we don't want to see them in a situation as it's starting to get warmer. I just want to make sure that the vehicle is properly equipped for both the K-9 officer as well as the K-9 dog.
I'll follow up, sir.
Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you.
5B for introduction and ordinance, amending file to council number 98, 2023, an ordinance as amended entitled appropriating funds for the expenses of the city government for the period commencing on the first day of January 2024 to and including December 31st, 2024 by the adoption of the general city operating budget for the year 2024, so as to transfer an amount not to exceed $51,510 from the Bureau of Administrative OPER TSF worker CO line item account as noted to fund a position of employment, public safety specialist, that was not identified in the 2024 operating budget.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second?
On the question.
On the question, this position here was identified last year. I thought we were going to be hearing about it going into this year's budget. It wasn't discussed at this year's budget. It came up again after this year's budget was passed, and I was under the impression that it would be included in budget discussions moving into next year. We find it in front of us tonight, and because it's due to public safety, I'm going to be in agreement with this, but I usually would not be in agreement with adding a new position or opening up our budget mid-year. It should be something that's discussed during the budget process, especially because it was identified prior to right now. I know there's several open positions in the city. I've sent a request into the HR department to get those open positions or positions that are not filled. Earlier I spoke about the pave cut inspector. We have 2 pave cut inspectors in the budget. One of those positions is for $43,418. Rather than making a budget transfer to cover the $51,000 it costs for this position, I think we should look at positions that are unfilled and not fill them for the remainder of the year. It's a good way to cover this money. Then we could discuss putting this into the budget for next year. That's just my opinion on this. Like I said, I will be for it because it's for public safety, but offered a different way to fund the position.
Thank you.
Also on the question, so I was never, or for the most part, would never agree to open a budget in the middle of the year and add a position, whether it was on school board. It really hasn't happened here. Maybe it might have been recommended once or twice, but like I said, I would never allow the budget to be open to add a position in the middle of the year that wasn't budgeted for, you know, without the funding allocated. So, but because it's public safety and the current climate, no, look, I just got text right now, there's shots being fired over on Providence Road. You know what I mean? So this is a critical IT position that I spoke to the chief about a few months ago because I heard from police officers that came to me and said, Mark, you know, we really need this technology. It's not getting fast enough into our cars and the system because we're waiting for the city's IT department. So the police should not wait or be second waiting in line for essential technology. It helps them do their job and protect all of you and us. So with that said, like I said, I'm going to approve this, and I'll be happy to support the police and give them all the resources they need to you know, keep themselves safe and all of you.
On the question, I agree with the council member Schuster as well as Mr. McAndrew. I'll be supporting this as well, especially since we did put into the budget two workers for the Parks and Rec that were supposed to be dedicated toward cleaning up the downtown city of Scranton, the entranceways into our city. Those are 2 positions that council specifically asked for, put in the budget, and here it's April 9th. They haven't been hired yet, so all those, I guess those funds right now have gone unused, so, the money from those two positions that haven't been filled, I guess, can go toward public safety. I'm fine with that, but I still want to see the administration hire those two positions that City Council requested to help keep our downtown city and the entrance ways into our city clean, and to address all the issues with all the dirt and all the trash that surround our city, to make sure that it's cleaned on a regular basis. And I'm still waiting for that to happen. But since we've gone almost 3.5 months with two positions that we should have been paying people, that should more easily cover this position, I would think. That's all I have.
Thank you. I think there's several positions in the city that we could easily cover this position. Mr. Voldenberg, a few days ago, when I saw this come onto our agenda, I requested from HR a list of those unfilled positions. I think Mr. Gilbride was also on some communication about those positions. If we could just follow up to see if, just stay on top of those, that we can get what positions in the city are not filled at this point in time.
I will, sir.
And then the second thing is the line item that this is coming from. It's OPER TSF Worker CO. There's $2.6 million in this line item in the business department or in the business administration. Can we just clarify what these funds are and what they're to be used for?
I will.
Thank you very much.
I agree as well with the addition of this position due to the critical nature and the need for, the technology to be there for our officers in the police department. So I'll be voting in favor.
Good, thank you. And I also agree that this position, this IT person will be dedicated just to the police and fire department. So I will be in favor of that also. All those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5C for introduction, a resolution accepting a donation presented to the City of Scranton Fire Department from Greg L. Sunday and Joan M. Sunday in the amount of $5,000 in memory of Scranton firefighter Stephen Sunday to purchase equipment.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5C be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5D for introduction, a resolution ratifying and approving the execution and submission of the grant application by the City of Scranton to the FY24 Community Conservation Partnership Program through the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources for up to $276,000 to be used towards the City of Scranton's Weston Field Rehabilitation Project.
At this time, I entertain a motion that item 5D be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
5F for introduction, a resolution accepting a donation from Amos Towers and Webster Towers in the amount of $7,000 to the Scranton Fire Department to be placed in the Special City Services account as noted.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5F be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor of introduction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, and so moved.
6th order, no business at this time. 7th order, no business at this time. 8th order, 8A, filed to council number 14, 2024.
This ordinance converts a certain portion of Deacon Street from a one-way to a two-way street. Council is awaiting for the recommendation of an additional stop sign from the City of Scranton engineer. If there is no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.